Failure means you've now learned another valuable lesson that pushes you one step closer to success.
It means go in another direction.
And
it means you have to go in another direction.
Failure is not the end all.
No.
People keep getting buried under failure. I bet you that you have failed more times than anyone in this room.
Absolutely.
I promise you have. I'm willing to bet that I have failed more times than anyone in this room. Because I have attempted so many things that you have no idea what I've attempted and failed at. But I don't let the failures define me.
It's God pointing you in another direction.
And it's clear about that. And you've got to be willing to go with that bend, because that bend in the road is the only way. Success is not a straight line.
It is not.
It's crooked, it's down in a valley, it's back up over a mountain.
Develop the habit of daily goal setting and goal orientation. What does this mean? This means when you go to sleep at night, think about your goals for the coming day. Make a list for each day of all the goals, the little goals you're going to accomplish that day. Keep a journal and write down your goals on a regular basis. When you're driving through the day, think about your goals. When you're talking to other people, think about your goals. You see, you do become what you think about most of the time. You do achieve what you think about most of the time. So all successful people and all wealthy people think about their goals most of the time.
You gotta be willing to work off for 3 hours of sleep, 2 hours. If you really want to be successful, some days you're gonna have to stay up 3 days in a row. Because if you go to sleep, you might miss the opportunity to be successful. That's how bad you gotta want it. You gotta go days without, listen to me, you gotta want to be successful so bad that you forget to eat. Beyonce said once she was on the set doing her thing, 3 days had gone by, she forgot she didn't eat. Because she was engaged. I never forget when 50 Cent was doing his movie, I did a little research on 50, and 50 said that when he wasn't doing the movie, he was doing the soundtrack. And they said, when do you sleep, 50? Sleep, he said, sleep. Sleep is for those people who are broke. I don't sleep. Said I got an opportunity to make a dream become a reality. Football players, how many football players? Got anybody like football in here? Raise your hand. Anybody like football? Emmitt Smith. I used to be a Cowboy fan before they did my boy Tom Landry wrong. I used to be a Cowboy fan. And watch this, there was a commercial. Emmitt Smith had won his first Super Bowl, and he had this commercial when he was lifting weights. I don't know if you saw the commercial, and he was lifting, and Emmitt said, you know what? I won the Super Bowl, so I can rest now. He was doing his bench press. So he said, I won the Super Bowl, so I can rest now. So he throws over about 325, boom. And he rests for about 2 seconds. And he, boom, boom, boom. Did you see that? He'd already won a Super Bowl. He said, I think I'm gonna take a rest. And he rests for how long? 1 second. Most of you won't be successful because when you're studying and you get tired, you quit. And I'm here to tell you today, if you got somebody came to my office the other day crying. I said, look, don't cry to give up, cry to keep going. Don't cry to quit. You already in pain, you already hurt, get a reward from it. Don't go to sleep until you succeed. Listen to me, I'm here to tell you today that you can come here, you can jump up, you can do flips, you can be excited when we give away money, but listen to me, you'll never be successful until I don't have to give you a dime to do what you do.
We have a secret code for unpurposed success. Might come true someday. This is what the secret code is.
I was in New York City. That sets it up pretty well right there. I was in New York City. I had a rental car that kept breaking down. It was 98 degrees. Air conditioning isn't working, sweat's pouring down my face. It seemed like I was in the world's biggest traffic jam, and every New Yorker on the planet was beeping the horns and cursing at me. If you've ever been to New York City, you know that's not a very comfortable feeling at all. But to make matters worse, I was already 20 minutes late for a very important audition. And I'm feeling this massive snowball of negativity building up, and I'm like, oh man, what else could possibly happen? Don't ever ask that question. Because if you do, the universe will answer you, and it did. I drive up to the toll booth and I went to pay the guy, and I realized I'd left my wallet at the rental place. I snapped. I looked at the guy and I said, hey, I'll have a couple of burgers, 2 fries, and get something for yourself there, Sparky. This guy looks at me with the biggest smile on his face with a typical New York attitude and says, hey, you want me to supersize those fries there, tough guy? So I gave him the same attitude back. Yeah, that's a good idea. Supersize those babies for me. He goes, yeah, it is a good idea, but unfortunately, we don't have food here. I said, well, then you better get it because you're holding up traffic. Now we're both starting to laugh, but all the cars in back of me, they're beeping the horns, they're cursing. Come on, move it. What's going on over there? That's when my newfound friend in the toll booth sticks his head out of the booth, motions to all of the other cars and says, hey, we ran out of food. It happens. Try the next booth. Try the next booth. By then, we were high-fiving each other. We became best friends in 30 seconds. You want to know what the coolest thing was? He let me go without paying. He looked at me and said, hey, it looks like you're having a tough time here, pal. Don't worry about it. I got you covered. This toll is on me. Get out of here. And thank you, thank you, thank you. I said, what are you thanking me for? He says, you need to understand, I'm pretty new in this area. This is only my second day in the job. Believe me when I tell you, I really needed to laugh today. And I looked at him and I said, oh, geez, help me, Lord, so did I. Folks, here's the point, and a very important point. I drove away from that toll booth in a totally different state of mind. As a result, at that moment, I was able to plant positive thoughts in my head, constructive ways, on how I could deal with this very important audition that I had coming up. Guess what? I kicked butt. I had a great audition. I even visualized how I wanted this thing to go. And it's a good thing I had a great audition because it led to the most important break of my comedy career. That's how I got my very first TV special, my Showtime special. And that special paved the way for every other TV appearance that I ever made. Let me ask you this question. What do you think would have happened if I would have gone into that audition in the mood that I was in before the toll booth incident? I wouldn't have had a chance. Not in the mood that I was in. And I tried everything in my power to turn this thing around, but it wasn't working. And I realized years later, when I reflected back, it's only when I started laughing was I able to think positive. Now, why is that? Here's the psychology behind this. When you allow yourself to laugh in the midst of a stressful situation, your brain is no longer focusing on that stressful situation because your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. Right now, your brain is laughing at something ridiculous or absurd that you just did. And even if your brain does go back to that stressful situation, which it probably will do, but here's the cool thing. It won't be as overwhelming as it was before. Why? Because you've calmed your nervous system down to the point where you are in control of the situation rather than having that situation control you. At that particular moment in my life, my humor being came to the rescue, and in a matter of seconds, there was a major shift in my attitude. And you know what? Sometimes a couple of seconds is all you need to catch your second wind. Sometimes a couple of seconds is all you need to get up from off the ground and jump back into the game again. Your humor being gives you those few seconds over and over again. It gives you the unstoppable attitude that you need to persevere regardless of your circumstances.
And that man, Mr. Leroy Washington, did something for me. He started planting seeds in my mind that enabled me to begin to dream, as Dexter has been doing for you. And ladies and gentlemen, I started working on my dream. And most people don't work on their dreams. Why? For many years I didn't. One is because of fear. The fear of failure. What if things don't work out? And the fear of success. What if they do and I can't handle it? The other thing is that most people, ladies and gentlemen, they get comfortable. They stop growing, they stop working on themselves, they stop stretching, they stop pushing themselves, and they end up becoming very cynical about life, and they throw in the towel on themselves, on their families, and on their...
Now, if you can add an act to your disgust, it helps. A man takes a shotgun to his car, blows out every window, destroys every tire, puts 100 rounds in it, and says, I've driven this embarrassing thing for the last time. And then he saves it. He saves it. And later when somebody says, how did you become rich and powerful? He says, let me show you this car. One day I'd had it up to here, I blew it to smithereens. Enough is enough. Here's the last three. Next is decision. Decision making.
My second story is about love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in the garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the Valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about it. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer-animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Lorene and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love, and that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking, don't settle.
The second step in living without limits is competence. Competence means that you begin to become very, very good in the key areas of your chosen field. When you show a high level of competence in your life, you'll earn more money, advance in your company, and be trusted with greater and greater responsibilities. A great way to develop competence is to use the 80-20 rule, also called the Pareto principle. The 80-20 rule states that 20% of your activities will account for 80% of your results. In other words, you need to do everything you can to focus on the 20% of your activities that are most important, and delegate or delete as many of the other tasks as you possibly can. Now, the most valuable and important tasks on your to-do list are often going to be the most difficult ones. So get into the habit of tackling those ones first. Before you begin work, always ask yourself, is this task in the top 20% of my activities, or is it in the bottom 80%? Apply the 80-20 rule to everything you do, and you'll unlock new and amazing success in your life time and time again. Your top 20% of tasks are the most difficult, and as my friend Robert Allen says, do the worst first. Do the ones that you're most likely to procrastinate on first.
Where I want to go. Let me tell you the story of what we might call the average young man in our society. Now, from the time this boy is born, there's only one thing on earth he can do, and that's to begin to think, act, and talk like the people by whom he's surrounded. This is all in the world he can do. But right off the bat, the odds are 95 to 5 that he's thinking, acting, and talking like the wrong group. They're wonderful people. They love him. They'd do anything in the world for him. They want him to succeed. But the odds are 95 to 5 they haven't got the answers he needs if he's to reach fulfillment as a human being, if he's to reach this success that he wants, if he's to reach into these deep reservoirs of ability and genius we know he possesses and draw it out. Well, he starts in school. The most important thing to a little boy in school is to be liked by the other little boys in school. And so at this tender age, he begins to follow other little boys his same age who don't know any more than he knows and who do not necessarily have any capacity for leadership. And he does this in the first grade, and the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth, and the seventh, and the eighth, and year after year after year, he forms himself into a composite average of other little boys his age, trying to be like them, trying to do the only thing in the world that's impossible for a human being to do, which is to be like somebody else. Now let's say he goes all the way through school, usually goes in the military service. Again, he's caught in a vice-like grip of conformity. Now let's say he's 25 years old, out of school, out of service. What's he going to do? As a rule, he'll go back to his hometown, unless he's married, in which case he'll go to his wife's hometown. But let's say he goes back to his own hometown, he's single, he doesn't know quite what to do, he's standing on a corner one morning, and a friend that he knew in school comes up and says, "Hi there, Charlie, what are you doing?" He says, "Nothing." He says, "Why don't you come down and work where I work? It's a pretty good place, it pays regular, we got all kinds of fringe benefits and so on," and so he does. The odds are about, again, 95 to 5 that his first job is taken as a result of random application. On the job, without thinking about it, the most natural thing in the world for him to do is to look around, see how the other guys are doing their job, and to begin doing his the same way, assuming that what is normal for them is normal for him. No reason for this. He doesn't think about it. He just does it. Now, he has stretching in front of him 50 years or more in the golden age that man has been dreaming of since the days of ancient Greece. What's he going to do with these 50 golden years? We know that he works 40 hours a week, as a rule. 40 hours a week, which leaves him 72 hours a week when he's neither working nor sleeping. 72 free, discretionary hours each week to do it as he pleases. Now, at this point, of course, he's married and he has his little house and his little car. And this is about what he does with his free 72 hours every week. He'll do what the other fellows are doing with their free 72 hours every week, which is virtually nothing at all. On a typical day, he'll quit right on the dot, get in his little car, go to his little house, go in his little kitchen, kiss his little wife, and say, "I'm tired." They've even figured out why he says that. The experts believe that he used to hear his father say that back when men used to get tired working during the day, and he picked it up and he repeats this every night when he gets home. He bolts his little meal and then heads for the living room where he turns on his escape box. Click. Takes 15 or 20 seconds for the screen to light up, a period of time he finds interminable, but he gets through it somehow. Maybe kicks the dog that thumbs through a magazine or something. Then the screen lights up and he does too a little bit, and there in front of him he sees people in all kinds of funny old-time costumes all killing each other at a great rate. One expert has agreed that the average family can see more death and bloodshed and carnage on his television set in a week than Crassus saw when he crucified 6,000 prisoners on the southern road to Rome. But you know how those experts are. He could certainly be off one or two. But he sits there for about 5.5 or 6 hours. 25% of all free time now is spent in front of the tube, according to the latest statistics. Now, there's nothing wrong with this particularly, except that he's watching other people who are earning excellent incomes in the pursuit of their careers, while he doesn't make a nickel. And gets the only two things you can get from watching TV on that kind of a schedule. He gets red eyes and a hollow head. Now, this is not meant to be an indictment of television. I've got a couple of television sets at home, too. I have a couple of cars at home, too, but I don't go home at night and drive around the block for 6 hours. But he sits there for 6.5 hours until finally his wife, who's a little more practical than he is, taps him on the shoulder and she says, "Charlie, I think it's about time you went to bed. You've got to get up in the morning and go to work." He's okay, and he shuts it off. He knows how to do that. He just shuts it off and goes to bed. Next morning he gets up and he does this all over again. He does this every day for 40 years. At the end of 40 years, he's retired, which always kind of catches him by surprise. No one's ever figured that one out either. And then he dies at 85 or 90, the way medical science is moving us along, out of sheer boredom. But what's the problem? Is there a tragedy here? Not really, if that's the way Charlie wants to spend his life, our mythical, hypothetical young man. If he wants to spend his life that way, that's his business. He lives in a free society, can do anything with it he wants. But there's a terrible tragedy here if he's living that way because of the total lack of a decision. If he's living that way simply because he's still doing what he was doing in the first and second grade, and that's going along with the fellows up and down the block on the unspoken assumption that they know how to live, then there's a real tragedy there. Because they've never known how to live. Not in all the recorded history of mankind. He never finds out who he is. He never reaches into the deep depths of his abilities, his talents. He never learns that he can have just about everything he wants in the world, that he can call his own shots, tell his own fortune. And it's kind of a pity. Well, what's needed?
That's what it really is. Now, when you ask people, you know, have you failed to achieve something? How many have ever failed to achieve something significant in your life? Say aye. Thanks for the interaction on a high level there. But if you ask people, why didn't you achieve something? Somebody who's working for you, you know, or a partner, or even yourself, and you fail to achieve a goal, what's the reason people say they failed to achieve? What do they tell you? Tell me. Come on, out loud. Didn't know enough, didn't have the knowledge, didn't have the money, didn't have the time, didn't have the technology, you know, I didn't have the right manager, didn't have the Supreme Court. What do all those, including the Supreme Court, have in common? They are a claim to you missing resources. And they may be accurate. You may not have the money, you may not have the Supreme Court, but that is not the defining factor. And you correct me if I'm wrong. The defining factor is never resources, it's resourcefulness. And what I mean specifically, rather than just some phrase, is if you have emotion, human emotion, something that I experienced from you day before yesterday at a level that is as profound as I've ever experienced, and if you communicated with that emotion, I believe you would have won. But how easy for me to tell him what he should do. Idiot, Robbins. But I know when we watched the debate at that time, there were emotions that blocked people's ability to get this man's intellect and capacity and the way they came across to some people in that day. Because I know people that wanted to vote in your direction and didn't, and I was upset. But there was emotion that was there. How many know what I'm talking about here? Say aye. So emotion is it, and if we get the right emotion, we can get ourselves to do anything. We can get through it. If you're creative enough, playful enough, fun enough, can you get through to anybody, yes or no? If you don't have the money, but you're creative or determined enough, you find the way. So this is the ultimate resource, but this is not the story that people tell us, right? The story people tell us is a bunch of different stories. They tell us we don't have the resources, but ultimately, if you take a look here, flip it up if you would. They say, what are all the reasons they have in common? We said that. Next one, please. He's broken my pattern.